He is a mumukshu because there is no moksha other than Ishvara, who is moksha swarupa. Therefore, you
Is it running? Is the recording running? I don't see it running. That's why I'm asking.
It shows in my screen recording started 53-54 seconds back.
It is there, red button is there on top.
We have here, Prashant. Appa started recording in the very beginning.
You stopped it and again started, I think.
You stopped it, but no.
Actually, like how Swamiji said that day, for me today the Skype is it is updating and it is giving weird screen. I don't know why. I was not able to hear last 10 minutes. Only now I am able to hear. Okay, yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Therefore, you have to recognize Parameshwara. For it, you must necessarily be Ishvara Parama. To make it clear that this is not a meditation upon the cosmic form, Vishwarupa Upasana. Shankara says that when Lord Krishna says Aham here, the meaning is Achara Atma, the self that is not subject to destruction, who is the Paramagati, the ultimate end. It is also the immediate end. If it is only the ultimate end, you can postpone it but when the ultimate and the immediate ends are the same, the commitment is complete. This is possible because the end is incomparable. Niratisaya Gati.
Niratisaya Gati. Niratisaya Atisayam means very rare. Niratisaya Gati means incomparably very rare Gati. Yeah.
Niratisaya.
Atisayam we say, no? Atisayam means wonder. Niratisayam means incomparably Atisayam. That is what he said. Niratisaya Gati. Yeah.
The pursuit is backed not by a simple faith, but by clarity about what you want and the nature of what you are seeking. They are called bhaktas, whose bhakti is characterized by knowledge of what is real, the Paramartha Vastu. The jnana is also real because it is not subject to sublation. Of those who have this knowledge, Bhagavan says, they are the most beloved to me, te ativa me priyaha. Priyaha. His use of the word ativa makes it clear that he is speaking here of the jnani and not any other bhakta. Though the karma yogis are also dear, the jnanis are absolutely dear to Bhagavan because they are not different from him. Their bhakti has fulfilled itself in the form of knowledge. Since fulfilled bhakti is also bhakti, the jnani is called bhakta. In the beginning, his pursuit is jnana, and in the end, it is again jnana. Whatever effort is required to do shravana and foster these values in him, he does. They do not automatically take care of themselves. One has to apply one's will to cultivate these values and keep oneself in a position where one can gain this knowledge. Because of the nature of the pursuit, it may not look as though the person is doing much. It is something like trying to solve a mathematical problem. Once the mind is seized with it, even though one may get vexed or tired and stop actively trying to resolve it, one goes on puzzling over it subconsciously. On the surface, one is doing various other things, but subconsciously, one keeps analyzing the problem, and one day the solution strikes the person. This is what is called intuition. A person who has not been seized with this problem will never have such an intuition. Only the person who discerns the problem will discover the solution, as only the mathematician will discover the solution to a mathematical problem, not someone who has not gone to elementary school. These things do not happen by accident. They require your effort. You need to know. You are not going to stumble upon this knowledge. You need a means of knowledge, and to discover the proper means of knowledge, you require grace, which is earned. Why should you be directed to it while another passes it by, or yet another
even having heard it, disregards it?
again,
three type of people he is talking about. The sense why we are interested, why other persons who are also equally exposed but they are not interested. The other person he disregards it, he walks away from it. All these type of people are available in the society. Why it happens? It doesn't happen by just what you call luck. It happens because of some samskara and so many other things that are involved. He says nothing is like God doesn't play dice. That is true for everything. All this knowledge and all that. Yeah.
It passes it by means he doesn't fall.
Just ignore. Just ignores it. Just ignores it. Yeah.
There is some samskara for Advaita, which is a karma bala of great punya. Therefore, you must exercise to overcome certain difficulties that may arise. In any pursuit, there are difficulties, and the pursuit of knowledge is no exception. People lose their enthusiasm and even give up in the face of obstacles, only because they are not clear about what they want. With some effort and will, the difficulties
With some effort and will, the
difficulties can be faced. And as I told you, prayer is the ultimate expression of will. The one who wants to reach the ultimate end, which is the most beloved and not different from oneself, must make effort, yatna. Om Tat Sat.
Yes, now, yeah, we just read that, then we will discuss, yeah.
इति श्रीमद् भगवद गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्यायां योग शास्त्रे श्री कृष्णार्जुन संवादे भक्ति योगो नाम द्वादशोऽध्यायः. Om Brahman is the only reality. Thus ends the 12th chapter called Bhakti Yoga, having the topic of devotion in the Bhagavad Gita, which is in the form of a dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, which is the essence of the Upanishads, whose subject matter is both the knowledge of Brahman and Yoga. Both the one who is meditating on Akshara Brahma and one who is pursuing Karma Yoga, combined with meditation on Saguna Brahma or Bhaktas. The word Bhakti is used vigorously in this chapter, and thus the topic of the chapter is Bhakti. There is no separate discipline called Bhakti Yoga. Yoga here, as in all the other chapters, means a topic. Both Bhakti, characterized by knowledge of what is real, and that characterized by devotion to and meditation upon Parameshwara, are mentioned here. At the end, Lord Krishna says, Te ativa me priyaha. They are for me the most beloved.
So that is why, what his question was, basically the Akshara Brahma Upasaka and Karma Yoga, who is better? That is how Arjuna started. So then he told that very clearly, the person who understands and for him the jnana is the upasana, he is excluded from the discussion because jnani tu atmaiva mematam, in the sense he is me only, so he is excluded. And between the people Akshara Brahma Upasakas and Karma Yogi, the sense both are combined with meditation, both are bhaktas only, and the person who is able to progress in that and is able to understand that Akshara Brahma is the reality, that is where we have to progress. So there it is comparable, and he elaborately compared between the Akshara Brahma Upasaka and Karma Yoga and combining with the Saguna Brahma Upasana and all those things elaborately. And he said, and finally he talked about the Jnani, what exactly is the description of the Jnani, and whatever the Jnani, the way in which he conducts himself is the sadhana for the Upasakas as well as the Karma Yogis. That is how he completed. So what is essentially the Akshara, the whole thing is understanding Ishvara. Because it is a reality. so that they go in to a large extent and explain. Advaita Siddhanta, the Vedanta part of it, explains in detail how this oneness is. All the Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, they do only that basically. Only in Gita, what Bhagavan says is it starts from where you are here now in the society. From there he takes it, but while taking it, he explains also very clearly the reality is the oneness between you and Ishvara is the reality. That is what you are looking for. Even when you other pursuits like Artha, Kama, Dharma, very well, what you want is only that. So you are never going to be satisfied by maximizing in Artha, maximizing in Kama, or even maximizing in Dharma. By being a dharmic person also, you are not going to, even though you try to maximize it, ultimately the maximum you are looking for is Ananya Bhakti. So, unless and you realize that, unless you understand that, and find out what is the reality of Ishvara, what is the reality of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, and keep proceeding with that understanding, along with your Vedika, the rituals, Dharma, or contributory living, and dharmic living, ethical living, all that simultaneously have to go. As you go in that direction, which is called Karma Yoga, your clarity in terms of your pursuit also will improve because you are studying. Anyway, you have to study. Without studying, it will not help. While studying, as a parallelly, you have to be living ethical living, dharmic living, upasana, upasaka, all those things. You have to. Then, as you proceed in both the directions, you will know that what I get to know from the Gita study or Upanishad and all that is I am able to I am able to identify myself with that sort of an understanding of Ishvara, which gives me that Citta Samadhanam. So the other things that are happening around me in terms of Laukika, Vaidika, the plus minus in Dharma or Artha or Kama, it doesn't really affect me anymore. Slowly, I feel that the understanding is, my whole life is to facilitate, to move in that direction where I am able to have that Ananya Bhakti. And Ananya Bhakti is not a conditioning, it is a reality understanding because I am able to see that. As I go through the books and as I go through the Acharya, I am able to see that the reality is the same awareful being or Desakala Vastu Aparichinnam and all those things, Satyam, Sat Chaitanya Swarupam, all those things I am able to see. And I find that when I have that relatively peaceful mind by doing a proper living and doing karma without expectation, in the sense, everything I do is Ishvara Arpanam, everything I receive is Prasada, so I am able to have that Citta Samadhanam. Because of that I am having a space inside where I am able to be reminiscing what I study, which is not in conflict with my life, whatever it may be, plus minus that is happening. Both the things together have been explained in this particular 12th chapter as Bhakti. In the sense, the ultimate Bhakti is Ananya Bhakti. And because that is the reality, not because, that is why it is called Ishvara understanding. It is not a sort of a upasana or just thinking about Bhagavan, no. You have to understand what is Bhagavan is nothing but the reality of you and the reality of Ishvara and Jagat are one and the same. That is what has been already talked about in the previous chapters also. In this the culmination is, Bhagavan says that Jnani is the ultimate Bhakta because he understands Ishvara thoroughly, and others are also in the same Karma Yogi or meditative Upasana people are also, they are only looking for that. But they have to understand, if their understanding has to improve, then they will not, they will not say that my thoughts are bad and I have to get rid of my thoughts. In meditation I am getting disturbed. So all those sort of pratibandhakas will be removed with your greater understanding. You will not look at the disturbance in the mind as I am getting disturbed. You will say disturbance in the mind means the mind is disturbed, that's all. I will be able to observe it. I will observe the disturbance. Then automatically the disturbance will vanish. Because my understanding is, my reality is Desakala Vastu Aparichinna Atma the being, and I am doing Upasana on this understanding, where while doing this Upasana I am getting the distraction and I am seeing the distraction and allowing it to pass by. So this is how I progress. So that I don't, even any distraction in Upasana or even in life in terms of what I have in my family or office and all that, whatever that comes across, I will be able to look at it as, yeah, this is what is happening in my role. Something is happening, I have to appropriately respond to it. And I have to, it is not, it is only the role that is coming into play while I respond. It is not that I am being disturbed. I, the being, is always there. So, even your life will be a part of Upasana, outside or inside, and while in meditation also. Because your understanding is clear as per what Bhagavan has been explaining all along, that your reality is the same as the reality of Ishvara, and whatever that happens is the changing things happens, keeps on changing. The changeless is my reality. That is Ananya Bhakti. That is the Jnana. So, that is a completion. So, the Upasana, Karma Yoga and understanding have to go hand in hand. That is called the ultimate Bhakti. That is where you progress. That is what he has mentioned here. So, the chapters are complete now. Again, from 13 to what you call the end of it, it will be mostly it will be how to have that Shraddha, in the sense, the Sattvika Shraddha, Tamas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, how to lift ourselves from Tamas and Rajas to Sattva Buddhi. So actually, Manas or Buddhi itself is called Sattva because human Antakarana is essentially Sattva. So, Manas itself is called Sattva. It is called Sattva because we are supposed to be Sattva. But because of various our own way of living and all that, it all gets mixed up. Some people have greater Sattva, some people have less Sattva and all that. But ultimately, you have to grow into Sattva. In every walk of life, not only while eating food, while sleeping, while interacting with the world, while study, while bhakti, in everywhere Sattva has to predominate. It should not be when you go to a temple, when you do prayer, it should not be I should get better than the other fellow. Then that is not a Sattva Bhakti. That is Tamasika Bhakti only. So it is not Sattva. So even Bhakti is characterized between Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, like Ravana's Bhakti and Rama's Bhakti. So all those things we have to be, that will be essentially discussed in this, that into it is all sadhanas, gunas, and ultimately again the 18th chapter will sum up in terms of Tyaga and Sannyasa. What is the difference? What is Tyaga? What is Nyasa? Nyasa is accepting things as they are. Tyaga is with reluctance. You renounce with reluctance. You have got a value for what you renounce. Then it is called Tyaga. If you don't have a value for it, your value is only understanding and being one with Ishvara, then nothing is Tyaga. Everything is only Nyasa. Taking things as they come, as they are. So there is no Tyaga involved. Tyaga is only because you have got a value for your reluctance to give up, but still you give up. That is called Tyaga. So all those things will be explained in the final chapter. So that will be how we will be progressing from 13 to 18. Yeah, you can start now.
Chapter 13. Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yogaha. Topic of the known and the knower. Introduction. The tradition looks upon the entire Gita as having its subject matter in the Mahakavya Vakya Tat Tvamasi. You are that. This statement contains the whole teaching. You means the person who is addressed, the Jiva, who wants to be enlightened. That is Ishvara, the Lord, to whom the individual is equated in the statement, Tat Tvam Asi. In the first 6 chapters, the Gita unfolds the meaning of you, Tvam. The first chapter reveals Arjuna's sadness. The individual Jiva is always sad, sometimes acutely, otherwise chronically. Chronic sadness is managed through various routes of escape like dance, music, movies, accomplishments, exhibition of skills and so on. But sometimes it becomes acute as it has for Arjuna. He no longer wants to resort to any mode of escape but wants to address the problem. Thus, in the second chapter, we saw Arjuna discovering in Krishna's teacher and seeking a solution and placing himself at the Lord's feet as a disciple, and Lord Krishna accepted him as a disciple and began teaching him, not simply advising him. So the teaching began. Knowledge of the real meaning of the word Tvam, the Pratyagatma, was unfolded as Avinashi, not subject to destruction, Nitya, eternal, Aja, the one who is unborn, and not subject to change, Avyaya, who cannot harm or nor be harmed. That is, one who is neither subject nor object. Veda Avinashinam Nityam Ye Enam Ajam Avyayam Katam Sa Purusha Partha Tam Ghatayati Hanti. Gita, second chapter, 21st sloka. It was also said, weapons do not cut him, fire does not burn him. Na enam chintanti
Nayenam chindanti shastrani. Yeah.
enam tahati pavakaha.
Yeah.
Gita, second chapter, 23rd sloka. In these various vakyas, the nature of Pratyagatma, which is equated to Ishvara, was unfolded. Though they are one, there is a seeming contradiction between Jiva and Ishvara. Ishvara is omniscient, Sarvajna, and the cause of everything, Sarvakarana, whereas the Jiva is Alpajna, of limited knowledge and bound by the various laws and so on. How are these to be equated? You have to understand what is meant by the word you, and therefore Bhagavan unfolds the Pratyagatma as the real meaning of the word you. In the second chapter, Lord Krishna presented the means, Karma Yoga, that will aid in gaining this knowledge. Then Arjuna expressed a doubt in the third chapter about whether he should adopt a life of sannyasa or continue with Karma Yoga, both of which are for the Jiva. The fourth chapter unfolded the real nature of sannyasa as the giving up of action through knowledge, jnana karma sannyasa, again revealing that Pratyagatma is not an agent of any action, it is akatta. The one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is the one who has discrimination, who is united to Ishvara and has done all that is to be done. Karmani akarma if pashyet akarmani cha karmayaha sa buddhiman manushyeshu sa yuktaha krishna karma krita. Gita, 4th chapter, 18th sloka. In the 5th chapter, sannyasa is further unfolded, showing that Pratyagatma is neither a doer, akatta, nor an enjoyer, abhokta. Even seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, sleeping, letting go, grasping, winking, and so on, the knower of the self does not perform any action. Pashyan, Srinban, Sprishan, Jigran, Asnan, Gatsan, Swapan, Swasan, Pralapan, Visarjan, Visrijan, Ridan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi, Indriyani, Indriyateshu, Vartante, Iti, Narayan, Aiva Kinchit Karomi, Iti, Yukto Manyeta Tatvavit. Gita, 5th chapter, slokas 8 and 9. In the 6th chapter, contemplation upon the Pratyagatma is advised. Having made the mind alive to the self, one should not dwell upon anything else, that is as separate from the self. Atma samstham
Atma samstam manah kritva na kinchitapi chintaye.
Manakrutva na kinchitapi chintayet. Gita, 6th chapter, 25th sloka. This again is predominantly Tvam Padartha, even though the equation is shown. Thus, the first 6 chapters are centered on the word you, Tvam, in the sentence that you are, Tat Tvam Asi. The whole emphasis changed dramatically even in the initial verses of the 7th chapter, where Bhagavan talked about Ishvara, the meaning of the word that, Tat Padartha, as the cause of the entire world, Jagat. In the 10th chapter, he talked of the glories, vibhutis of Ishvara. In the 11th chapter, he showed his cosmic form, Vishwarupa, and in the 12th chapter, Krishna talked about upasanas. When Ishvara is discovered, the Jiva becomes a devotee. So, the second group of 6 chapters, Dvitiya Shatka, deals predominantly with Ishvara. The third Shatka, the last 6 chapters of the Gita, talk about the identity of the Jiva and Ishvara and the means, Upaya, for achieving that utility. Accordingly, certain values and actions are going to be discussed in these chapters. Shankara's long introduction to the 13th chapter is an indication of the importance of this chapter of the Gita. It reveals the identity between the Jiva and Ishvara and clearly discusses some terms that are vague. Some editions begin with the following question. In others, including the manuscript that Shankara had, it is omitted. If this verse had been there, Shankara's introduction would have been quite different. The verse in the form of a question from Arjuna reveals the various topics discussed in the 13th chapter. This verse probably was a later addition, but it is still a very intelligent way of introducing the entire 13th chapter of the Gita. Arjuna asks, Arjuna uvacha prakriti purusham chaiva kshetrajnameva cha jami jnanam nyeyam cha keshava
Ichami jnanam nyeyam cha keshava.
etad veditum ichami jnanam nyeyam cha keshava. In some Gita manuscripts, this opening verse is not found and hence it does not carry verse number. Arjuna uvacha said, Prakritim, the nature, Purusham chaiva, and indeed the person, Kshetram, the field, Kshetrajnam evacha, and indeed the knower of the field, Jnanam, the means of knowledge, Gyayam cha, and what is to be known, Etat veditum ichami, this I wish to know, Keshava, O Keshava. Arjuna said, I wish to know this Keshava, that's Krishna, Prakriti and Purusha, the field and the knower of the field, the means of knowledge and what is to be known. What Arjuna wants to know is grouped as three pairs of words. They are Prakriti and Purusha, Prakritim Purusham cha eva, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, Kshetram Kshetrajnam cha eva, Kshetram Kshetrajnam eva cha, and Jnana and Nyeya, Jnanam Nyeyam cha. He wants to know what is meant by Prakriti and Purusha. This terminology of Prakriti and Purusha is common to both Sankhya school of thought and Vedanta. Similarly, he wants to know what is meant by Kshetrajna, the one who knows the Kshetra. So too, he wants to know what is Jnana and Nyeya. Purusha, Kshetrajna and Nyeya happen to be identical, as do Prakriti and Kshetra. Because Arjuna had some confusion about these words, he asks for their definitions. What is Jnaya? Jnaya means Jnana Yogya, that which must be known in one's life. That is not other than the Kshetrajna, the Purusha Brahman. Thus, Jnaya is Brahman. And if one has to know, Arjuna also wants to know through what kind of mind, Jnana, one can know. Here the word Jnana refers to the Antakarana, the instrument with which one can know. It has to be endowed with values like Amanitva and so on, for Brahman to be that by which something is known is also called Jnana, as he will explain very clearly later.
Basically, what we have been telling is that the prepared mind, for us to have what do you call our Chitta Naishchalyam, in terms of whenever we study, we must be able to put our mind to it, be committed to the study, not get distracted, and we must be able to absorb, we must be able to, whatever you have studied, you must be able to reflect, and you must be able to progress further. For that, you have to have a consistent study and absorption and living that study. For that, you need a prepared mind. That is what is referred to as Jnanam in this particular section. Jnanam means that which helps you to understand Nyayam. So, like even if a book of physics is called physics book, because it helps you to learn physics. The same way, Jnanam is, even though it looks like it is, Jnanam means knowledge, it is not knowledge. What helps you to know about this understanding of your reality, that whatever way it helps, it is called Jnanam, it's qualification, again, values. That is what he is going to discuss in detail in this chapter. Yeah.
Prashant, yeah.
You are in further Shankara says that paragraph, right?
The entire
13th chapter you have to start from that para.
I was there, it clicked somewhere else. 1 second. From footnote, you are coming back to
The footnote pages have passed. Next page.
Shloka, first shloka, third chapter.
Kshetra and Kshetrajna.
The third para, the entire 13th chapter.
Previous para. The entire 13th chapter, something like that comes, no? 3 paras before the first verse.
Once again. The entire 13th chapter is nothing but the answers to these questions. Is my voice clear? Because they are doing the ground, churning of the ground. So,
Okay, yeah.
the entire 13th chapter is nothing but the answer to these questions. Because Shankara did not have that verse, he introduced the chapter as follows.
There are too much of disturbance.
I'll read Prashant, it's okay.
Kumar wants to read.
Kumar uncle, you want to read, uncle? Kumar uncle, you want to read, uncle?
I think he was not able to listen with the disturbance.
Okay, the entire 13th chapter.
Is it audible now if I read? Is it audible now or disturbance?
Too much of noise.
Prashant, some noise is here. From noise is here. I am not able to read it.
That's
Yeah,
all.
Kumar, you can read?
No, he says
No, there's some noise here. Some
Okay,
loudspeaker.
then I will read.
Now the
The entire 13th chapter is nothing but the answers to these questions. Because Shankara did not have that verse, he introduced the chapter as follows. In the 7th chapter, 2 types of prakritis, meaning nature of Ramesvara, were mentioned briefly. One prakriti consisting of 3 qualities, Trigunatmika, and divided into 8 factors. Ashtadha
Binna. Differentiated in 8 ways. Yeah.
is called Apara Prakriti. Apara Prakriti. Because the cause of samsara. The other Para Prakriti is the essential nature of the Jiva, characterized as the knower of the field of experience and the very nature of the Lord. Previously, it was described as indestructible, Akshara, limitless, Parama, and not subject to any modification. Abhyaya. Because of these 2 Prakritis, Ishvara gains the status of creator, sustainer, and destroyer of this world. The word Prakriti means both nature, Swabhava, the cause Karana. Both Atma and Maya are called as Prakriti because both are the cause of creation, Jagat Karana. Atma alone is not Jagat Karana, nor is Maya without Atma. Therefore, both are called Prakriti, the cause. Together, they are called a Prakriti that is divided into 2 in a 2-fold way. One Apara Prakriti comprises in 3 gunas, Trigunatmika, and the other Para Prakriti is Satchidatmika. This twofold Prakriti accounts for Ishvara being the cause for this entire Jagat.
now is my voice audible? No, any background noise is there? No, right?
No.
Okay. I asked them to stop the work for some time, so they said okay. Another word for Apara Prakriti is Kshetra. Another word for Apara Prakriti.
Apara Prakriti means it become very different. Apara Prakriti.
Another word for Apara Prakriti is Kshetra, and for Para Prakriti is Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. This is one of the traditional methods of unfoldment, Prakriya, in Vedanta, known as the seer-seen methodology or the subject-object Prakriya that is used to show the nature, Swarupa of Ishvara. Shankara has to say this because in his manuscript the chapter opens abruptly with a new topic, not preceded by the question that appears in later editions.
So we have discussed this in the sense, I have always explained the changeless and the changing. The changeless is para prakriti, apara prakriti, which he talks about in terms of three gunas and all that, because of the gunas small combination, it keeps changing. So the changing and the changeless, both are always together. Without the changeless, changing cannot function. Without the changing, changeless will not come to light. Changeless will be like that, Brahmavena irupam. You will not be able to interact or transact. So, for transaction, Maya, Prakriti, the changing Prakriti is needed. But the changeless gives only the Satta and Spruti, meaning without the changeless, the changing cannot even exist. Existence also is given by the changeless. So, that is what is the difference between Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Yeah.
Swamiji, this Maya, Jagat Karana, Atma alone is not Jagat Karana, nor is Maya without Atma.
Exactly, that's what. See, Maya is changeless, changing. The changing Prakriti is the niyati that ties up, like giving that order, like Sattva-guna, Raja-guna, Tamo-guna. How is it? If Sattva-guna predominates, how one functions. If Tamo-guna predominates, how one functions. All the niyati, the tying up, is done by the Chaitanyam, the knowledge factor, the Atma. Atma is the Chaitanyam, the Chit Swarupam, that we call the Chetana Swabhava. The three Prakritis, even though they are there, they are Jadam. Unless they are given the Chetanata by the Atma, they cannot function. Because you see, no, in anything and everything, even a dull fellow, he eats with his hand, all right. He doesn't eat with his legs. Even a dull fellow. So Swamiji used to say, how can you call him a dull fellow? He is eating with his hand. What more you want? So that much of niyati is there. Even for a dull fellow to operate in his life, that much of niyati is there. That niyati, that Chaitanyam comes from Atma. So that is why Atma Maya cannot function without Atma. And Atma by itself cannot even transact because it will not be available, because it is changeless, it is desa kala vastu aparichinam, it is not even an object. How can you see? Nothing will be there. So Atma and Maya together only is the Prakriti, Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti, the whole thing. Only that we must be able to distinguish where exactly is our value is. Our value is for the changeless means we will not be disturbed by the changing. We will accept the changing as changing. That is what the entire first 20 verses of Gita, where Bhagavan explains clearly what changes will keep changing. You are the changeless Swarupa, where you bothered. So that is what he has given drastic examples like what we have quoted here. Na hanyate hanyamane sarire, na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam hanti hanyamane sarire. This is birth and death is only for the changing, not for the changeless. And the whole life what we are worried about, what we are navigating for, from birth to death, death to birth. Everything else happens in between. So the whole thing is changing only. The changing Prakriti is our day-to-day transactional life. But that is only the changing aspect. But the changeless is your reality. So that is what is Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. And some places they will say higher Prakriti and lower Prakriti. Higher Prakriti is Para Prakriti, lower Prakriti is Apara Prakriti. It keeps changing. Even though it is Ishvara's Maya and all that, but still it is Mithya only. Because it is changing. Mithya means what? Changing, all the time changing. So, which Bhagavan knows, we have to know. That's all. Only difference is Bhagavan knows, we have to know. Once we know, he can also be on his side and watch the Maya with fun. So that is what the whole thing is all about. For that, what I have to know? For understanding it so clearly, what I have to know? I have to have values. I have to have a certain disposition, inner preparedness. That will be again discussed here in terms of values. That is what is called Jnanam, which is going to discuss. Yeah.
Shankara has to say this because in his manuscript, the chapter opens abruptly with a new topic, not preceded by the question that appears in later editions. Towards the end of the 12th chapter, beginning with Adveshta Sarvabhutana, up to the end of the chapter, the expression of the renunciates, the knowers of the truth, is told. And the Lord says that such jnanis are very dear to him, Same Priyaha. Then again, endowed with what knowledge does one become so dear to Bhagavan? That this knowledge is nothing but knowledge of the identity of the Jiva, and Ishvara has to be shown, and thus the 13th chapter is begun. Further, the Prakriti comprising of the three gunas and undergoing modifications is assembled in the form of the body, mind, sense complex of a person for the purpose of accomplishing the enjoyment of karmapala or for gaining moksha. This is the apara prakriti that undergoes modifications and gives the physical and psychological body to a jiva for bhoga as well as moksha. Therefore, Lord Krishna starts with idam shariram to begin the unfoldment of what exactly is the swarupa of the kshetrajna and kshetra using the subject-object method of inquiry, drig, drishya, viveka, prakriya.
Kshetra also means field. Kshetra means field. Field means it gives you a platform, a field wherein you can understand how is your internal infrastructure, how much of reactive mind you have, how much of shanta mind you have. All that you can see. Like we say, in any industry also, field work. Why we do field work? We will get to know exactly what is happening on the field. So here also the field is, Bhagavan says, idam shariram kaunteya. Your body, mind, sense complex is the field. You have to know what are all the characteristics of the field, how it is responding. Yesterday we were discussing whether it is reacting or responding. All those things we have to examine closely, impersonally, with a lot of vairagya. We have to look at ourselves. Kshetra. So it is called Kshetra. Idam shariram kaunteya. That is how Bhagavan starts. Now let us read.
Swamiji, what is really meant by Prakriti?
Huh?
What is meant by Prakriti in the real sense?
Prakriti means what? Actually, you can see even closely, you can, in English also we have got precursor. The word precursor is there. The word precursor. Exactly. It is nothing but Prakriti. The Swamiji jocularly used to say, maybe Prakriti has come from the word precursor. And leave it to our imagination, which has come from where. To know which has come from where, he will tell, maybe Prakriti has come from the word precursor, and leave it at that. Why? Because I tell you, Prakriti is nothing but that precursor, meaning the field in which all your manipulations happen. That is why you say there is a world. For you to see that there is a world, the combinations have to happen in the Prakriti. Listen, there should be an excuse for you to say that there is a world. That excuse is the precursor or the Prakriti. Prakriti meaning like lot of this pancha, like it starts, Tattva starts from pancha, like pancha bhutam. It starts from pancha bhutam. What do you call? Air, space, air, vayu, agni, apa. That is the basic. And even before that, Mahat meaning even before Panchikaranam was done, even before the Mahat Tattvam went into Panchikaranam, they were all in potential form without our knowledge. We won't know also. For us to know, Panchikaranam has to happen, meaning Akasha has to, one part of Akasha has to mix with 1/4 part of Vayu, 1/4 part of Agni, 1/4 part of earth, 1/4 part of water. Then only you will be able to see space. The space you see is possible, is available for us to see because in it all these others are there little bit. That is why you can see that in the early morning when a sunbeam comes into the room through a small hole, previously you would have thought it is space, but now you will see in that space of light, the ray of light, lot of water particles, some even earth minerals, everything. Like it will be continuously glittering. That is called space. So the space also is visible only when the other four elements are there. Likewise, Vayu is visible only when the other four elements are there. That is called Panchikritam. That is how the Prakriti starts outside for the world. In us also, in our own body, what we call body, mind, sense and all that, it is not just body, mind, sense. In each body as well as mind as well as sense complex, we have all these Panchabhuta. Panchabhuta that is outside is there and Panchabhuta that is inside. So this Panchabhuta inside, the Panchabhuta outside is called Prakriti. With which only all our transactions are happening. And every for every Bhuta, Panchabhuta, we have got a, what do you call, Upakaranam, meaning eyes can see only light, ears can only hear sound, that is space, and nostrils can smell only, that is Gandha, that is Prithvi, and water, taste, water, Apaha, and Agni is eyes again. So all these things, like for every for the Panchabhuta, for every Panchabhuta, for you to sense, a Karana is given. And the Karana, what eyes see, ears cannot hear. What ears hear, eyes cannot see. So that you feel that, there is something, sort of a 5-dimensional world is existing outside. Actually, there is only one unidimensional life, the conscious being. But because of the differentiation of your Panchikaranam in terms of the bhutas as well as your capabilities of your eyes, ears and all that, all pancha keeps happening. And even inside, chest, lungs, stomach, intestines, abdomen, genital, one set. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, another set. Holding, ukti, gavanam, procreation, excretion, another set. Like that, pancha again is done that way. So that you are able to see and interact with a 5-dimensional world. That the whole thing you can call it as Prakriti. It's all like ball and socket. Each one is holding another. So you feel there is something happening out there. So and over and above we have our own imagination. We say this fellow is okay, this fellow is not okay. That comes over and above all these things. So we've got a real world to deal with. But it all starts from here. That is what he is going to explain now. Panchikritam, in the sense, he will talk about the basically idam shariram kaunteya means he knew what are all happening. That is what he is going to tell.
So this Vishnu Sahasranam Parashut Shloka, Kshetram Kshetrajna Vacha we read, no, that will come in future verses, is it? Like, because in
Kshetram Kshetrajna Vacha it will come. It is already there. It will come now. Yeah.
Verse 1, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Sri Bhagavan Vacha इतम शरीयम कौन्तेय क्षेत्रमित्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति त्वं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञिति तद्विदः. Sri Bhagavan the Lord said,
stop with this because
we read. Just read the verse and explain, having started, and then we'll stop. Yeah.
Sri Bhagavan the Lord Uvacha said, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, Itam Shariram, this body, Kshetram iti as field, Abhidhiyate is called, Etat
Yahaveti. Etat Yahaveti.
Etat Yahaveti, the one who knows this, Tam, him, Tadvidaha, the knowers of that, Prahuhu, speak of, call, Kshetrajna iti, the knower of the field. See, Bhagavan said, Kaunteya Arjuna, the body is called, this body is called field. The one who knows this field is the knower of the field. Thus say those who know that. In his answer, Lord Krishna reorganizes the whole question.
we'll stop.
We'll stop with that. Bhagavan was saying, the one.
Okay, we will do that.
Continue.
We will start with the verse again.
Let's start with the first verse again.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamada Purnamidam Om Shanti.